Hi everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're diving into a touching story about Alex, a man who lost nearly everything after the flood, but found something far more powerful than success: the warmth of Lytuna's kindness and the strength of starting over. But here's the question that will keep you watching. When the storm destroys everything you've built, what truly matters? What you've lost? Or who still stands beside you? Stay with me till the end, because this story will change the way you see hope, love, and resilience. And if you enjoy emotional, meaningful stories like this, don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the next one. Soft sunlight filtered through the trees, glinting off the muddy path where Alex rode his motorbike from the grapefruit groves. The storm had finally passed. Days of chaos were giving way to stillness. He had spent every waking hour helping the farmers salvage what little fruit remained, hauling baskets through knee-deep water, sending whatever they could save to clients. The harvest wasn't perfect. Some shipments had fallen short, but at least they hadn't lost everything. The air smelled of wet soil and leaves. For the first time in days, Alex felt like he could breathe again. The weight that had pressed down on his shoulders eased a little, though regret still lingered, heavy as the fruit that lay submerged beneath the floodwater, lost to the storm. He slowed his bike at a clearing, gazing at the pale blue sky breaking through torn clouds. It was the kind of quiet that made you notice every heartbeat, every breath. The world looked battered, but alive. Then, like sunlight through the clouds, a thought of Lytuna flickered in his mind. Her calm smile, her voice that always carried warmth even in the hardest moments. And baby Henry, who'd grin at him with wide eyes that seemed to know no sadness. Just thinking of them lightened him. He turned his bike toward their house without even deciding to. It was instinct, like his heart knew where he needed to be. The path was rough, scattered with branches and puddles, but every turn of the wheel felt like it carried him closer to peace. He remembered the bamboo kitchen behind Lytuna's garden, the smell of wood smoke, the sound of her laughter mixing with the wind. That place wasn't just a shelter, it was a refuge. Even though the flood had taken much from him, the crops, the money, the sleepless nights, it hadn't taken the people who mattered. A faint smile touched his lips. Birds were singing again, their songs soft and hesitant, as if testing the silence after the storm. The melody felt like a promise that no matter how much the world broke, it could still mend. He accelerated a little, the wind rushing past. His clothes were still damp, his hands calloused, but there was fire in his chest again. The farmers were counting on him. Lytuna and Henry were waiting for him. That was enough reason to keep going. He didn't know exactly what came next, but he made himself a silent vow. No matter how hard the storm had hit, he would rebuild, step by step, day by day. As the road curved, the landscape opened. Patches of sunlight stretched across the horizon, lighting up flooded fields that glimmered like broken glass. The world had scars now, but it also had color again. Lytuna's house came into view, a small wooden home tucked behind the garden, surrounded by banana trees and the faint smoke of cooking fires. It felt like a beacon, steady and alive, calling him home. When Alex arrived, he stopped his bike by the fence and exhaled slowly. The air was thick with the scent of earth and damp bamboo. From inside the yard, He could hear the faint clatter of pots. He walked in quietly. The bamboo kitchen stood just as he remembered it. Simple, thatched with dried palm leaves, the walls darkened by time and smoke. Inside, Lytuna was bent over a basket of vegetables, her hands quick and sure. When she looked up and saw him, her face lit up with that familiar, unguarded smile. "You're here," she said, voice bright and full of life. For a moment, all the exhaustion, all the nights without sleep, just faded. He laughed softly. "Yeah, finally." The warmth in her voice chased away the lingering chill of the past days. Alex leaned against the bamboo post and told her everything. The long hours helping the farmers, the failed shipments, the warehouses still half flooded. His tone was low, almost apologetic, but his eyes carried something gentler when they met hers. Lytuna listened without interruption, her expression calm. When he finished, she wiped her hands on her apron and said quietly, "You and the farmers did your best. That's all anyone could do." Her words were simple, but they hit deep. The last of his guilt began to loosen its grip. He nodded, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly. A soft breeze slipped through the gaps in the wall, stirring the hanging herbs. The fire crackled in the small bamboo stove, filling the air with warmth. Lytuna turned toward him with a mischievous glint. "Why don't we cook something outside? It's been too long since we had a real meal together." Alex smiled. "You mean I cook and you laugh at me again?" She chuckled, her laughter clear and light. "Deal, but you're getting better. How about spring rolls and tomato soup? Simple and warm." He shrugged, pretending to think it over. "Sounds perfect." They moved in sync, collecting ingredients, chopping vegetables, rolling the thin rice paper sheets with practiced ease. Smoke rose as the oil hissed, and soon the scent of crisp rolls and simmering tomatoes filled the garden. The fire crackled like a heartbeat. For the first time in what felt like forever, Alex laughed, really laughed. Their conversation drifted from the flood to lighter things. Henry's latest mischiefs, the neighbor's plans to replant, the stray dog that had started sleeping by Lytuna's porch. The laughter and chatter intertwined with the crackling of firewood, weaving a kind of melody that soothed every rough edge inside him. Though the marks of loss remained, the drowned trees, the damaged groves, the bills waiting to be paid, none of that felt as heavy now. Here, in this humble bamboo kitchen, surrounded by smoke, laughter, and the soft hum of life returning, Alex found something he didn't know he'd been missing: peace. The outside world still bore scars, but this moment, this simple act of cooking together, stitched him back together piece by piece. Lytuna's presence anchored him, steady and real. Every glance, every word between them carried the weight of quiet understanding, the kind built through hardship and care. When they set the last batch of spring rolls aside, Lytuna brushed a stray hair from her face and looked at him. "See, you're getting good at this," she teased. He grinned, holding up a perfectly golden roll. "Guess I had a good teacher." The breeze lifted, carrying the faint scent of frying oil and herbs through the yard. For a heartbeat, it felt like the world had never been broken. As the afternoon light deepened, the two of them carried the food to the small wooden table outside. The sunlight dappled through the leaves, spilling gold across the bowls and plates. For once, Alex wasn't thinking about sales or markets or flooded groves. He was just there, fully, quietly there, with Lytuna and Henry sharing warmth and stillness after the storm. Gentle sunlight spilled across the wooden table outside where Alex and Lytuna set out their meal: golden spring rolls, a pot of steaming tomato soup, and freshly boiled rice. The air was warm, scented with smoke and herbs, carrying the peace of a day slowly mending itself. They sat facing each other, a soft breeze brushing through the trees. For a moment, neither spoke. They just breathed in the stillness, listening to the rustle of leaves and the faint coo of doves somewhere beyond the garden. Then, a cry broke the quiet. Baby Henry had woken from his nap, his small voice sharp but playful. Lytuna smiled, gently picking him up and cradling him against her shoulder. "Looks like someone's hungry too." Alex chuckled, reaching for a spring roll. "You first. You've earned it." Lytuna tore one in half, blowing on it before handing the other piece to Alex. "Eat up," she said with mock seriousness. "You're becoming a great cook now." He laughed, a rare, unguarded sound. "Careful, you'll make me believe it." The first bite melted on his tongue, crispy outside, soft and fragrant inside. For a split second, he closed his eyes. "Tastes like home," he murmured, "like my mom used to make." Lytuna's smile softened, her eyes glinting in the sunlight. "Then it's worth every bit of effort." They ate slowly, savoring the food and the quiet. It wasn't just a meal, it was something more. A reminder that even after ruin, life could be rebuilt piece by piece, one shared moment at a time. As the wind stirred the bamboo leaves, Alex felt a calm he hadn't known in months. "The flood took the grapefruits," Lytuna said suddenly, her tone gentle but steady. "But it didn't take everything. You still have us, the farmers, the people who believe in you." Her words settled deep in his chest, striking something that had long been buried. He nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, I guess that's what really matters." The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was full of meaning, of quiet strength, of things neither needed to explain. Henry reached out toward Alex, tiny hands opening and closing. Alex smiled, taking the baby into his arms. The little one's laughter filled the air, pure and bright. In that sound, Alex felt something shift. Maybe he'd lost a season's crop. Maybe the farm's books were bleeding red. But this laughter, this warmth, this connection, it was worth more than any harvest. They talked for a long while about the days ahead, how to help the farmers replant, how to rebuild storage sheds, how to keep the groves safe from the next storm. Each idea carried a spark of hope, a plan for something better. The bamboo kitchen behind them stood silent, but alive, its thatched roof catching the sunlight. It had seen storms and floods, laughter and tears, but now it stood as a quiet witness to their resilience. Alex leaned back in his chair, watching the sky shift toward gold. "Funny," he said, "how something as small as a meal can make you feel like the world isn't ending anymore." Lytuna smiled softly. "Maybe that's the secret. The world only ends when we stop sharing it." He looked at her then, not just as the woman who'd helped him through the flood, but as the person who had quietly become the anchor holding him steady. As the sun dipped lower, the three of them, Alex, Lytuna, and Henry, sat in companionable silence, their shadows stretching across the yard. When the meal was done, Lytuna began clearing the dishes, but Alex stopped her. "Wait," he said. "Before you clean up, I want to help with something else." Her brow furrowed. Something else? He pointed toward the far side of the yard, where the floodwater had left a shallow ditch. We should strengthen that drain. Next time it rains, I don't want your house to flood again. Tuna blinked in surprise, then smiled. You really can't sit still, can you? He shrugged with a grin. Not when I can still fix something. Moments later, the two of them were in the garden, sleeves rolled up, hands deep in mud. The sun hung low, warm and forgiving. The scent of fried spring rolls still lingered in the air. Alex dug into the soft earth, shoveling steadily, while Tuna stacked stones beside him, her movements sure and graceful. Build it like this, she said, demonstrating how the rocks interlocked. Strong foundations, and no storm can move them. He watched her, the sweat on his brow mixing with the dirt, and nodded. Strong foundations, he repeated, as if the words held more meaning than just for the ditch. They worked side by side, their rhythm unspoken, but perfectly in sync. Mud spattered their clothes, but neither cared. There was something peaceful in the shared effort, something honest. After a while, Alex paused, resting the shovel against his knee. Tuna, he said softly, thank you for all this, for reminding me what matters. She glanced at him, brushing hair from her face with the back of her hand. You don't have to thank me. We're all just doing what we can. He smiled faintly. Still, it means more than you know. Baby Henry giggled nearby, playing with a leaf that had drifted onto the grass. The sound made them both laugh. Tuna looked at the half-finished trench and said quietly, when the last flood came, I thought I'd lose everything. But somehow, the water left just enough. Maybe that's life. It takes a lot, but it always leaves something worth holding on to. Alex nodded, his gaze steady on her. Then we'll hold on, and next time, we'll be ready. The shovel struck earth again, each sound echoing like a heartbeat. The ditch grew deeper, the wall of stones rising sturdier. It wasn't just a barrier against water, it was a symbol of everything they were rebuilding: trust, community, hope. By the time they finished, the sky had turned to fire. Streaks of amber and rose brushed the horizon, the air humming with crickets. Tuna stood back, admiring their work. Not bad, she said proudly. Stronger than before. Alex wiped his hands on his jeans and smiled. Like us. They laughed, the sound soft and real. The fatigue in their limbs felt good, earned. Under the shade of a broad tree, they finally sat down. Baby Henry crawled over, clutching a twig in his tiny hand, babbling happily. Tuna watched him fondly, then turned to Alex. Tomorrow, she said quietly, let's go help the farmers. They need us now more than ever. Alex looked out toward the fading sun, then back at her. Yes, he said simply. Tomorrow. The word carried promise, a beginning. They sat there as the last light faded, the air cooling around them. The garden smelled of earth and smoke, of things reborn. And though the world beyond still bore the storm's scars, here, under this tree, beside the woman and child who had come to mean everything, Alex knew they were building something stronger than any flood could ever wash away. The ditch gleamed faintly in the twilight, a line of defense, a symbol of endurance. And as the first stars blinked awake in the sky, Alex smiled quietly to himself. The road ahead was long, but he wasn't walking it alone anymore. No storm could take that away. After a devastating flood destroys the grapefruit farms, Alex helps the farmers salvage what little remains. Exhausted and burdened by loss, he visits Lytuna, a woman whose warmth and quiet strength bring light back into his life. In her humble bamboo kitchen, they share simple meals, laughter, and hope, finding peace amid the ruins. Together, they rebuild, not just ditches and crops, but trust, resilience, and a sense of belonging. With baby Henry's laughter echoing through the garden, Alex realizes that what truly matters isn't what the storm took away, but what it left behind: connection, compassion, and courage. Through Lytuna's kindness, Alex rediscovers the meaning of home and the power of starting over, proving that even after the darkest storm, hope always finds a way to bloom again.